Poland. I'm the assistant department head here at the University of Georgia in Access Services.
And I'm Viki Timian, the department head here at UGA.
Hey. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're really happy to have you here with us today. This is a presentation about just basic fulfillment and GIL Express functions in Alma, and we hope that we can provide you with some useful information. So we're going to get started with fulfillment in Alma, where this is, as you can see, this is the screen, your home screen that when you log in. We're going to talk about these first two sections there: checkout, check-in, and resource requests. Those will be what we cover today. I think course reserves deserves its own presentation all by itself. Also, I would like to point out the create fines and fees report that is down in the advanced tools. If you can see, you should be able to see this.
Mary, can you hold on just 1 second? I think you might have just gotten muted. Hold on. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I pressed the button saying, unmute yourself, Mary.
I'm so sorry. Well, were you able to hear me a little bit, or were you never able to hear me?
No, we could hear you in the beginning. I think I lost you at, talking about reserves being its own thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So that create fines and fees report down in the advanced tools will give you a running. Thank you, Wilmina. Thanks. I'm sorry about that cutoff, but I just wanted to mention it. That is a report that you can run to get. If you take fines and fees payments, then you can see that. You don't have to create your own report. It's already been created for you. So depending on your function, on your roles, will also depend on what you can see in this menu for fulfillment. You should all be able, many of us you should be able to see the managed patron services, return items, and then your various, depending on your roles, whether you could see the pick from shelf, the different shelves. So we're going to move on to our next slide, and we're talking about, this is where, depending on the functions that you have access, your access depends on your user roles. The roles are going to be determined by, and you're going to use them for whichever location you're at. Depending, if you have only one location, then that is where you will be located. That's where you will work from. However, some places you might have multiple locations. For example, here at the University of Georgia, we have the main library, science library, and various other libraries on campus where we would have locations. And the roles are assigned by your Alma administrator, and that will determine what you can do in Alma. So we're going to start off with managing patron accounts. This is a screen where you would go to use, if you had register a new user in Alma. Usually this happens for us. Many times it's when we have a new faculty or staff member who has not yet been added to our feed, and we have to do a new, we create their account for them because they come in and they want to use the library. Sometimes this happens with students as well, but you can start it out from this page with the register new user. This also is is where if someone came in from another institution and wanted to borrow a book here, you could find them. You would click on that top checkbox above the search box. And if you do proxy users at your library, this is where you would need to check the use proxy so that you could use that. You could use that patron record for the proxy. And of course, this is where you scan in a patron's ID or look them up with their name in that search box. There's also another way you can find patrons by there's at the top on your on the next slide. There's the top toolbar where you have a section where you can search for users, and you have the various different ways you can search for those users, like by their email, phone number, and various other fields that you can use to search for them. There's also the that little, I don't know what that is. What would you say, Viki? Is that the advanced search?
Mhm.
The advanced search.
The magnifying
Magnifying
glass.
glass, yeah. That is an advanced search field or an advanced search function. And when you go there, you can search. It would go. I think it's on the next slide. We have the. You have another more things you can search by if you know the birth date or their first name, or if you have a block. I mean, anyway, you have multiple ways of searching for users through the advanced search. And when we go back to the to the register a new user.
All right, go back.
What? No, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go to that next slide where we have the user information. This is where you can add notes, you add blocks, and you can see their fines and fees if they have any. It's also useful to see their attachments. You can see if they have received notices, if they have received and their overdue or lost item notices. This is where you could make them a proxy, the proxy for, and you can also see the history of what's going on with their account. And above that, you can see that you can change their account type from external to internal or internal to external. And if you're going to make any changes, this is where you would open for update. You would use that to, if you had to change an address or change, maybe make any changes here. And now I wanted to show a little bit about how to find, if you're looking for titles, you can use, this is a variety of ways you can find your physical items or physical titles. You can look up electronic and digital titles too in here as well. And this also has an advanced search that that can be really useful if you're looking for, if all else fails, and you can also move over to the advanced search and look for many different ways. So I see Melissa, physical titles is the actual, so for example, say a title, so a book, so you've got 3 or 4 copies of a book, the physical title will take you to the title, and it will show you those, you can see those various copies. The physical item will take you to one of those copies, will take you to the copy instead of the title. Does that make sense? But
so physical item is kind of like barcode?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Got it.
Yep. Yes. And I think the next slide shows a little bit about how you can search for, it gives you all these different ways you can search for the physical titles. And there's also they have the same, or maybe not the same things, but they have the same types of things. You have a drop down menu for physical items and the other ways methods. And then, and again, in the advanced search, you can see how you can search the different sections for like title, and you can do keyboard. Anyway, the advanced search gives you more options in your search. So now Vicky's going to take it on and tell us a little bit more about borrowing.
All right. So first off, thank you all for for kind of hanging with us as I try and drive this for both of us, and when Mary's in a completely different space than I am. So in tips for Alma fulfillment borrowing, so one of the things that you want to do is you want to click the done button when you are finished checking items out. So on this manage patron services page, it will time out of the transaction automatically, but the default is 2 minutes without any activity. So that can be a long time. So clicking on that done button completes the transaction, and it ensures that books won't end up on the wrong patron account if someone else, else happens to walk up. And the done button also signals Alma to send a loan receipt to the patron if you have that configured. So patrons won't receive an email receipt. Like if it just times out, they won't get their receipt. So you have to click that done button to get Alma to send a receipt for you. The second bullet point, so this is one of those annoying things that it catches me often if I'm going too fast looking for somebody by name. So if you are searching for a patron by name, as opposed to scanning their barcode on their ID card, or even using their primary ID number, you'll have to first select their name from a drop-down menu and then click on go on the go button, or you'll get this patron not found error, and then you have to just go back and start your search again a little bit more patiently and click the right person. And then based on your configuration, patrons can receive emailed receipts when they check out books, when books are on hold, or when some changes occur on their account. And so this is particularly important to remember for recalled or items that were on hold, because the patron could get an immediate notification that that book is ready for pickup if you haven't configured a delay or use a hold processing shelf function. So we will next look at the circulation configuration screens in just a second, but first I wanted to give a little bit of an explanation. If you want an interim step before an item shows up on your active hold shelf and the patron will get notified, you'll want to configure your hold shelf processing. So to do that, if you do that, you will need to use scan and again to move the item from processing to then activate the hold. So as an example, say you lend tech equipment at your circulation desk. An item is requested, and when it gets returned, you want to be able to evaluate that piece of equipment before you let the requesting patron know that it's ready for them to pick up. So this hold shelf processing setting allows for that interim step in case something goes wrong, and so you're not limited by a certain time limit before the patron is notified. So it's a little bit more of a manual process. If you don't need that interim step, without the hold processing, hold shelf processing, the hold is activated immediately and when the item is scanned in. So if you don't have a notification delay configured, that patron is then notified as soon as you scan that item in. So let's look at where that is configured. So if you go, and this has to be done at the library level. So if you have multiple libraries at your institution, you can't do it at the institutional level. So in your configuration, you start with the library, then you go to fulfillment, and then you choose the circulation desk. Once you get there, if you want to add a delay, you would do that here where it's indicated with the circle. If you want to do that kind of manual hold processing shelf, then you would do that down here where we have it underlined. So, okay, so occasionally we'll have a patron that wants a printed copy of what they have checked out, and maybe doing screenshots just isn't going to do it for them, or maybe the list is too long. So whenever you see this export tools icon, you can get an Excel file to download and then print. Now, it may not look like it's in the best shape when you get that that Excel file, so you might have to do a little deleting and cleaning it up before you print out like 30 sheets of spreadsheet, but it does get you something that you can print out. If they don't need a printed list, but maybe they still aren't satisfied with having to check their account on their own, you can go back in the top right-hand corner of the managed services page that's indicated here with the red box. You can also send an activity report, and that will email them everything that they have checked out. Or sometimes we have people that really want a receipt that they've returned something, and you can do that from that little menu as well. All right. So return items versus scanning. So you're going to use return items for checking in those materials if they need to be backdated, or if you want to see the patron information. So, for example, at our circulation desk, we primarily use return items because a lot of times we have the patron in front of us, and if we need to get back to that patron, it's a little bit more of a direct link to get back to the patron. And of course, we have to use it if we need to backdate anything. If you're going to use scan in, that's generally used to move items from one workflow process to another. For example, if you need to change an item to a temporary location like course reserves, you can do that in the change item information tab. You can also use it, let's see. You can also use it for taking items. Hold on, I've lost my place here. Okay, temporary items like course reserves, and also with taking items like from patron accounts. So you'll use scan in if you have a hold processing shelf, or if you're using work orders, or as Mary will touch on a little bit later in the presentation, you'll use it to process GIL Express items that you receive through the mail. So one thing that has gotten some chatter on the Alma listserv is that the scan in function, and it's on this main scan in tab here, is it has a register in-house use box that you can use, that you can check, and that adds a statistic for those items. And that used to be the only way to register those in-house, those library use only stats. which is great for those of us who happen to do double discharging from the front desk, for example. Well, recently, it's been found out that if you use returned items and that item was actually not checked out, so if you used returned items, say at the front desk, and then you did double discharging and did returns again, that actually, Alma is actually counting that as an in-house statistic too. So there have been some Alma libraries that have reported this as a bug, but as far as I have been able to tell, there hasn't been a response from Ex Libris yet, and we're not really sure when that started. So just wanted to let you know, for those of you that collect your in-house use statistics, that there may be some issues. All right, so let's move on to on the fly. So there's several different ways to create on the fly records in Alma. Here is an example from where you do that in the scan in page. You also can do this from the manage patron services page during a checkout. And you can also do it from your course reserves area. So the main thing to note is that you want to select the placement of the record to be in the institution. For some reason, in Alma, it defaults to the network. And as far as I can tell, you cannot configure that any other, like you can't get it to default to the institution, but you want to keep this this brief record just in your institution and not share it to the network, since it is the briefest and, you know, accurate, but probably not the most accurate record that's going to be out there. So a little bit more on the fly. If you're creating course reserves readings, then you'll use that course restricted option. You'll just make that little click mark there. And then you'll have to talk to your catalogers at your institution, but generally you'll, or at least here at UGA, we suppress the records from discovery just because they are not, they're not complete cataloging records. And then for ease of locating these items, once they have been returned, you can consider using a specific, or creating a specific location, using a standardized fulfillment note, or you can add something to the end of your title. Like here at UGA, we use OTF to signify that it was on the fly. And that way, if you use something standardized like that, then it's easy to run an analysis on any of those things and get a report back. So you can kind of make sure that everything gets cleaned up. And then at UGA, we route these items for full cataloging review when they are returned by the users, so they can get everything corrected and keep our catalog looking as nice as possible and accurate as possible. All right, so I am now going to turn it back over to Mary, and she's going to talk about how to keep up with all of these things.
Yes, we're going to go talk about monitor requests and item processes. This is where you can see many things. We generally use it for to check work orders. We use it to see what it looks like, what's in transit. And we also use this to see what items have been recalled and are on, or maybe a hold's been placed on a record that a book's that's been loaned out. And this is where you would go to find out what that looks like and what's waiting to be, what people are waiting on. We use the patron digitization request. So this is where you can see what is waiting, what all is in that process. And sometimes also you have things that are waiting that people have put requests on and the book, but the actual item is out on loan. So this is where, you know, you can see many different things going on in your library. We usually those so if you're looking for things that have been recalled with holes on them, I've got an example here. We have a book, that Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. We have people, there's like 4 people waiting. The book's checked out to somebody, and we have a queue of people who've put a request on there and they're waiting for it to come back. So when that happens, the book is recalled from the person who's got it loaned out, and the due date is, the loan period is shortened, and those that patron would get a notice that of the new shorter due date and when it needs to come back. When that book is returned, it will show up, you will see it. Right now, you can't see this on the pick from shelf. And when the book is returned, it should when it's checked in, it will send that notice of that it's on the hold shelf. It will go immediately to that next person. And depending on if you have how you have your hold shelf set up, it would give you a little time to get it on there, but it will go directly to a hold shelf rather than to a pick from shelf. This is, we also, this one thing that had just bothered me was that it didn't show up on anytime. This is where you have to come and look, that it won't show, you won't see this on your pick from shelf. So you won't know that people have things on hold or have recalled items unless you come here to the monitor requests and item processes. If you go, there are also status change issues in Alma. If you have a book that is claims returned, but it is kept out long enough to go to lost, then that lost status will take precedence over the claims returned. And you can take a look at the next, you can see that in the notes on the, you would have to go into the person's account and see that book, and you could check the view notes on the on that item to see that that they had claims returned on there. We put a note on the patron's account that when they have a claims returned. But these recall and claims return statuses, they get changed to lost if those books are kept out well past the due dates. And then you wouldn't be able to see those different statuses. So now we'll go into physical item requests and just take a look and see what the different shelves look like. You have pick from shelf, the active hold shelf, and the expired hold shelf. And this is we use these a lot. We not only do GIL Express, but we also, our own students, faculty, and staff can request things from the libraries here at University of Georgia. So, and we pull those books for them and send them around and place them on the hold shelf in various libraries. So we have a very active pick from shelf list every day. So let's take a look at pick from shelf. You can sort by various types of by call number or location name. You can also, depending on how many requests you get, you can print slip, just one slip at a time individually, or you can use the Cloud app center to print a slip report. And you can also use the little downloads thing there where you can send it over to Excel and run an Excel report. We have on the left-hand side there under facets, you have all the different types of the request, all the different days, today, yesterday, and I'm up to a month ago. And then there's also an up to a week ago. These are things that, if we can't find it, we will search for them frequently. And then if we still can't find it, then these are things that get marked missing. So if we want to cancel, you would cancel a request from the pick from shelf. These are the various different types of cancellation notice, the cancellation types. Generally, if we cannot find it, then we would select cannot be fulfilled. We also now, I think Ex Libris has made it where you can create your own reasons for cancellation, and you can customize those reasons in Alma in the configuration settings. You configure, like, Viki, you could go into the University of Georgia, and under your physical fulfillment request cancellation reasons, you would create whatever your specific reason that you wanted to customize. You would add that to the code table. Would that be right? To add it into the code table and save it. And this is a new customization that Ex Libris has allowed us to do.
Yeah, and I think one nice thing about this feature as well is if there are reasons that you don't really use, you can also take those out of your list so that you can disable it from the screen or from that code table, and then you don't have to keep seeing it and scrolling down.
Yes.
All
right. So here's our active hold shelf. You can sort by the various ways. We find the I like, sometimes you want to look at the expiration time, like to see how long they've been on there. You can look like when they were placed. If you say you want to look for the who requested it, you can sort by people's names and title and the title of the book. So I think this is a very a useful list of sort bys that they've got here for our active hold shelf. Another hold shelf that gets sometimes overlooked is your expired hold shelf. This is where things go when their expiration date has come up on your active hold shelf. This is also when if somebody didn't, if it's on your active hold shelf and the patron comes in and says, I don't want this, and you cancel it, this is where that would go, that list, that record goes here, and it has to be scanned in and moved on from this expired hold shelf. So when they expire, if they go to reshelve, if they are at, say, if it's a main library book and it's held on the main library's hold shelf, then it would go to reshelve. If you have multiple circulation desks in the same library and a book is on hold at one of those desks, but it would need to be handled by a different circulation desk in the same library, then it would go to this send to circulation desk. We don't really use that here at the University of Georgia. We'd use this send to library quite frequently because we move things around from our different libraries on campus between Maine, science, music, art. Once things expire and they're having to be sent back to another library, it would go to that send to library. If there are others, this activate next, this is where the books go. If it's sat on somebody's placed a hold on it, it's been on the hold shelf, they don't ever come pick it up and it moves to expired, it expires and it moves on to that next person. It goes here and you have to activate that hold to get it to send that notice to the next person in line. Then for GIL Express, send to institution, this is where your books would go to be sent back to Georgia State or to the different institutions, the USG institutions for GIL Express. So recommend that, you check those expired hold shelves at least once a day. If, just to make sure to see what's sitting on there. And now we're going to start off, we're going to go back to where we're going to go to GIL Express and talk about some basic functions for GIL Express.
All right, so in these next few slides, I'm going to go over, before we get into some of the functionality, I'm going to go over some resources that I think should be really helpful, or they've definitely been helpful for us. So to get started, these are some of the lists that we recommend that you subscribe to, or maybe the person who does GIL Express processing the most in at your library should subscribe to these. So in particular, there's G2 Fulfillment. So this is going to connect you with other people that do any kind of fulfillment activities. So circulation, course reserves, GIL Express, and interlibrary loan. And so use this as a resource if you want advice for an issue, or you just need more courier bags, It's also used as a place to distribute information about close dates, contact lists, and institutional billing. So the activity on that list kind of ebbs and flows, but I like to think of it, just know that your peers are just a post away, and there's always someone who's willing and able to help you. So feel free to use that list in that manner. G2 All has mostly statewide announcements from GIL support, and it won't overwhelm your inbox. So I'd say go ahead and subscribe to it, and that way you'll get some announcements that apply to the GIL community overall. And then the last one, the courier list, it's rarely used, but it does distribute some information, usually that has to do with emergencies that regard stat courier. And so those notices go out, particularly if it applies to the whole system. So you can go to the listserv, the UGA listserv, or you can email the help desk, and they can help you out with getting onto those listservs. All right, so next, you'll hear us, or you'll see this page referred to a lot. So from the main GIL Express page on gil.usg.edu, you go to support, then downloads and docs, and then down at the bottom, you'll find documents for GIL Express. And then you will need a username and password to access the drive. And, since this presentation is being recorded, we are not going to tell you what that is, but you can contact Mary or me, or you can submit a help desk ticket, and we will get you the credentials that you need to get you into the documents. All right. So once you are in, you can get to the most current GIL Express contact list. You have information for stat courier, like labels, log sheets, address codes. You have institutional billing instructions and presentations, blocking instructions, and also damaged item slips are in here. So lots of things that you can find here on the drive. And then last but not least in our slides here is another fantastic resource, which is the GIL Training Wiki. So the fulfillment sections link you to sections that the GIL Fulfillment Committee has curated as being the most helpful they have found in navigating through Alma documentation. And if you have gone through on your own to explore the Alma documentation, not always the easiest to find things there. So if you wanted to, this is a good place to start your search. But there are also other sections, not just related to fulfillment, that are really helpful. In particular, there's the support section. So and there is a subgroup where you can, or kind of a subsection where you can find out about all those listservs that we mentioned just a few slides ago. And it describes them all and gives you instructions on how to subscribe to them. There is a presentations and communications section as well, which has all of the GIL coordinating committee and institutional leads meetings that are, both the PowerPoints and the recorded sessions. So you can always get back and find information that you need to from there. So super helpful page. So with those resources now in your possession, I'm going to hand it back over to Mary, and she's going to go through some specific GIL Express processes.
Okay, and I just realized I don't see the link here on this page.
Oh,
So wait a minute, that's not it. So this is my, that was that proxy.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, yeah, if you would, because I thought I had
Okay.
it here. Wait a minute, maybe I do here. There you go. I got it. There is the wiki, the link to that training wiki.
Is in the chat.
It's in the chat.
All right. Thank you, Mary.
Sure. You're welcome. Since I forgot to put it on the slide. Anyway, so to see your GIL Express activity in Alma, you would go to network activity on the patrons on the users page, and this will show you both requests and things that are on, and loans. So it will show you what people have requested, and it will show you what process they're in, like whether they're in transit, whether it's on the hold shelf, or whether it's just whether it hasn't been started yet. And it'll show you the loans that person has from from whatever institution.
And
which, yeah.
As an aside, this is a personal aside, I get caught on this tab so often because unlike all of those other tabs up there that has a little dog here, if there's any activity, it's not there.
No.
And just as I'm sure you know, it also does not show up in the little notes section of your when you're checking things out to let you know that they have a book that's available. So just I always have to remind myself to double check this tab.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Moving on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So pick from shelf. I know that many libraries only have GIL Express requests that they pull. They don't, you might not pull for your own for your students at your in your library. So you would just see this would be used for your GIL Express requests coming in. You can see the different institutions where people have requested things from you, and you can see the destination where they're going to be going. And those are some of the facets that you can see here as well from the pick from shelf. To process the pick from shelf, you go pick them up off the pick them up and then bring them back down and scan. You use scan in, and this will generate a transit slip, which you will send with that book to the other USG libraries. We have Stat Courier. That is our main courier. And then there are some USG institutions who are members of ARCH, the Atlanta Regional Council for Higher Education. And in those institutions, we can use the ARCH van for deliveries. And those are, Kennesaw, Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Clayton State, us, the University of Georgia, and our UGA Gwinnett campus, and Georgia Gwinnett. We are all members of ARCH and can use that ARCH van for deliveries. I believe now that van is going to 2 days a week. So it might, I think we may try using Stat Courier for most of our deliveries now because they do pick up every day. We have PDF labels for Stat Courier and ARCH in the on that GIL Express website that that Viki we just showed you. And if we don't find books, we do look here at UGA. We look for them frequently and multiple times. So at least we'll look for them at least a week, and usually maybe even past that, maybe even up to 10 days. So we will definitely try to find the book. And if we don't find it, then we will mark it missing, and then we will cancel that request. So, yeah.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
This is about the transit slips.
Yep.
And, we're all human. We make mistakes. So sometimes you may have noticed, you may have come across a transit slip that was put in the wrong book. So that's why we always want to try and, you want to scan the book. You're going to scan in the book as opposed to scanning in the transit slip of paper. Because we've had some doozies trying to figure out something because we put the wrong slip in a book, and then the slip got scanned. And so we were in a bind there for a little bit, but it all worked out in the end. But this is a cautionary tale. Okay, sorry.
No. So we're going to move on to when you get those materials back into your library, you'll scan those in, and it will show you how to route those materials. Sometimes you will get them and it will say, send this on to Clayton State. And that is possible because the patron may have canceled that item, or it may be that it was sent to the wrong location for whatever reason. It may not be when you scan it in, it might not say to go to your hold shelf, but it might say to go to somewhere else. And this, that would be, you would follow those instructions and send that on to the next location. And if you wanted to, just to make sure that you are following that you are correct, you could contact the library that owned the book just to double check to see if that was the correct way to proceed. But yes, many times the book or the person might decide they don't want it, and there would be somebody else waiting for it, or it will be going back to its home library. The holds expire after 10 days, and then that record would move over to the expired hold shelf, and then you would clear it out from there. So yes, so if you manage your hold shelves, the patron doesn't want the item. So this is the pick from shelf, canceling from the pick from shelf. It will just send that book back to wherever wherever it belongs, its normal shelf location. If it's on an active hold shelf, on hold for a patron, then the patron comes in, doesn't want the item, and you cancel it. For GIL Express, you're going to have to update the expiration date, and you would update it to a past date, and this will cancel it, and it will send it to the expired, and it will send that to the expired hold shelf. And that's where you will need to move it on to its owning location. Also, if the patron doesn't pick up an item and the hold expires, it goes to the expired hold shelf. So you have, that's why I recommend that you at least look at your expired hold shelf at least once a day, just to make sure that everything is cleared out of there. And so back again to the send to institution. This is where you will see the things that need to be returned to other USG libraries. Much like, yep, that's, yep, we've already covered that. So, so, and just to process it, you would select that send to institution, and then you can do it in, I mean, if you only have one, you can just transit, click that transit in the link, and it will put that item in transit and send it on. Or you can select, if you have more than one, and you know, like you have a few, you can select all and click the transit, that blue button, the blue transit button, and it will batch all of those and put those all in transit and print those transit slips out for you to send back to those USG libraries. So we do give 2 automatic renewals for GIL Express. They're renewed automatically for 84 days. They are usually renewed on that day before the due date. And you can sometimes see the that there'll be like a third renewal, and it'll be for like just a few days. But the total amount of time that books are renewed for for GIL Express is 84 days. So we have a GIL Express blocking report that you can use to block people at your library who have overdue GIL Express books. Not everybody, probably not everybody gets this report. It's only, there's probably there are specific people at your library who will get it, and will use that to block individuals with books. We give a 7-day grace period for patrons, and then they'll show up on this blocking report. And here at the University of Georgia libraries, there's a GIL Express block that is automatic and added by the system. We add a second block, a demerit block, and then we put a note that we have blocked this account, and we put a note on that account, and then we block them in Banner as well. Then when we get the notice, the blocking list will also show the people that have returned their books, and so they have come off that report, off the list, and we go in and manually remove that demerit block and take them out and remove the hold in Banner. But that GIL Express block is a system block, and it goes on and off most of the time automatically. There may be occasionally where you'll see that this, like it has to be added manually, but that's not it's pretty rare. And now institutional billing. It's the accounting period, the billing period is from July 1 to June 30th. And so it would be, basically the fiscal year. And then we will start billing in usually in the fall, September, October, and we get all the bills out, and everything should be paid by the end of the fiscal year, by the end of that next fiscal year in June. So this coming what we're going to be billing for is July 1 2022 to June 30, 2023. And we'll start billing for that in September, October of 2023. So not everybody is going to be involved in institutional billing. There is a contact list, and really we have only those people who handle billing will be on that contact list. And you can find the instructions on that GIL Express website. So that's our that's what we have for you today. If you have any questions, I'll be checking in the chat. And feel free to ask us anything for right now.
Hey, thank you, Viki. Thank you for your presentation. A few minutes left, so let's see.
Let's see.
See if there are any questions.
While we're waiting, I'm going to make a quick pitch we are looking for participation in the GIL Fulfillment Committee and ILL Subcommittee. So Mary is the incoming chair. Kara Mullen from GSU has been our chair for this past year. So we would love to have at least one person from every institution, but at least we need, who are we missing right now? State school?
State colleges and state universities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We welcome everyone, but we really would like to get people from our state universities and state colleges.
Okay, so the only question that I saw was the one on physical items and physical, what was it?
Titles,
Titles, but that was already answered.
Okay.
The chat, and I believe I heard you mention it as well. And then we just had some comments about different things that you all were talking about. I don't see no other questions. So we have a few minutes. If anybody has any questions, you can type them into the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask them aloud. With a few minutes left, we'll give it a little bit. See if there's anything else that comes through.
All right.
This is kind of random, says Aaron, but maybe someone has insight. Our automatic transit slips no longer automatically prints out. Do you know how to fix it, Alma?
What institution, Aaron?
Aaron, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'll just unmute myself. I'm from Columbus State. Yeah, our slips no longer print. So if you scan in items from like GIL Express, or even like our local requests used to print out automatically, they don't do that anymore. And I'm sure it's a tech issue, but I didn't know if anybody knew the trick. Alma is very confusing to me.
It's pretty finicky, but I wrote down your name, and we'll get back in touch with you.
And yeah, have you tried just printing this? Do you have to go in and then print slip?
Yeah, we've done print slip, and the print slip used to work, and now we have to do the quick print. We've had to do a lot of things, and we've had like some network changes, and we just migrated to Microsoft, so it could be a slew of issues, but I just want to see if maybe there was something I'm missing.
Well, we will investigate and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe we will post to that.
Okay, thank you for that question, Aaron. There aren't any other questions. Oh, I hear someone trying to speak, but it's breaking up.
Oh, let's see.
Might have been one of you two. I'm not sure. There's a comment from Wilhelmina. Wanted the GIL support manual that used to have a Google Doc of recommended user account settings for the roles in Alma. So yeah. Well, we're at
I-
time. And let's see, one more comment from Melissa. We used to have that problem at Georgia
Georgia
Southern
State.
Library. David Louder would fix it for us. So, but I don't know what he did. The slips, not the printing. Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Wilhelmina. And yes, shared workflows would be a good, that's a great idea.
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you.
for
Thanks.
joining us, and
Thanks.
thanks to Viki and Mary for being our presenters. The slides are already available on, well, I'm gonna check. They'll be up soon, if not already there, and then the recording will be available on Sched pretty soon as well. So
All right.
thank you all, and hope to see you all tomorrow for the
All right.
final day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.